Does anyone remember Trollz? Not the movies with Poppy and Branch, but that TV show from 2005. Like the movie, the show was based on the Troll dolls. Trollz was a TV show that came out in October of 2005 and ended about a month later. Its main characters were female trolls named Amethyst, Ruby, Sapphire, Topaz, and Onyx. They went on mystical journeys and overcame difficult situations with their magic and friendship. Their source of magic was the gems on their stomachs. The show may have seemed harmless with its intent of teaching the value of friendship. However, there's a dark truth behind Trollz. The show's protagonists were based on real girls who practiced magic. No, they weren't part of a satanic cult, but rather, the girls formed a secret coven amongst themselves. Their names were Vicky Ware, Diane Shaw, Leanne Martin, Kathy Raymond, and Joanne Cook. All 5 of them lived in a quiet town in the state of Washington. It all started when Vicky began to feel insecure about her place in life. Vicky grew up being raised by her mother and grandmother. She was taught to be polite and passive. Even if she were offended, Vicky wasn't allowed to argue. This, in turn, made her into a doormat. Even Vicky's friends often gave her the short end of the stick without knowing how it affected her. This part of the story is what inspired the first episode of Trollz. Diane was born into the wealthiest family in her town. She was entitled and obsessed with her looks. Her parents allowed her to use the family fortune to keep up with the latest trends. The one thing Diane's parents wouldn't let her do was date whoever she wanted. She couldn't even flirt with a boy without being reprimanded afterward. Diane's parents didn't want her to start dating until she turned 18. They also forbade Diane from dating anyone who wasn't upper class like them. Lillian was an intelligent student and the best in her class. However, not many people appreciated her gift. The adults often told Lillian that a woman would never be successful in life. Some of her teachers even gave her grades that were worse than she deserved. When Lillian asked them about it, they'd say that girls don't get straight A's. Lillian dreamed of one day becoming a professor at Harvard, but with the way things were going, it seemed less likely that she would even enroll there. Kathy's parents left her at an orphanage when she was just a baby. While living in the orphanage, Kathy dreamed of designing a line of fashion. Every time she went to school, Kathy would watch her classmates in envy. It bothered her that they got to wear nice clothes while she wore old hand-me-downs. Kathy wasn't the brightest student either. She didn't understand a lot and was made fun of for it. There were also times when Kathy was caught drawing outfits instead of doing her schoolwork. Joanne was possibly the boldest in the friend group. Like Vicky's family, Joanne's parents tried to teach her how to stay silent. However, Joanne wasn't so compliant. She never hesitated to stand up for herself when someone insulted her. Her parents were often angry with her and punished Joanne for her disrespect. Once, her parents locked her in her room for 3 days as punishment for talking back to a bully. Growing up in oppressive environments was what forged the friendship between the 5 girls. In 1963, the girls entered high school. It was around this time when Vicky's troubles began. During her summer vacation, Vicky learned about witchcraft and how it empowers people. All their lives, Vicky and her friends were forced to conform to the ludicrous standards of their town. Thinking that this was what they needed, Vicky told her friends about witchcraft. At first, none of the girls were too sure about the idea, but after some convincing, Vicky's friends finally agreed. One Saturday night, the girls gathered in a clearing outside of town. They told their respective parents and guardians that they were going to have a sleepover at a classmate's house. Vicky approached her friends with a spell book she purchased from local witches. One of its spells was a ritual for summoning an entity called Namus. According to the witches, Namus granted power and wealth to those who summoned him. The ceremony required a doll with the spellcaster's birthstone attached to it. Since troll dolls had small gems on their stomachs, the girls decided to use those. During the ritual, each girl held a doll with their corresponding birthstones. Vicky's birthstone was the amethyst, Diane's was the ruby, Lillian's was the sapphire, Kathy's was the topaz, and Joanne's was the onyx. On that clearing, the girls summoned Namus. However, the ritual failed and they were never heard from again. What happened was that Vicky overlooked an important rule in the spell. The spellcaster had to use real gems, but instead, Vicky and her friends used the plastic replicas on their troll dolls. If you use fake gems to summon Namus, he will be insulted and drag you down to his dark realm. It wasn't Vicky's fault that she made that mistake. The spellbook was ancient, written long before we had the technology to produce plastic gems. It never would have occurred to the author to be so specific. Even the witches who sold the spellbook to Vicky didn't think to warn her. When the witches learned what happened, they shared the story with other magic users to prevent others from making the same mistake. Somehow, the future producers of Trollz caught wind of the tragedy. They were so touched by the strong friendship between the lost girls that they decided to make a show about it. Not only did it mirror the friendship between Vicky and her friends, but their troll counterparts were also given everything they wanted in life. Vicky had the mutual respect of her peers. Diane was free to date whoever she wanted. Lillian was appreciated for her intelligence. Kathy got to own fashionable attire, and Joanne could speak her mind without repercussions. Namus also got his own character, a reoccurring villain named Simon. Yes, the name of Namus's troll's counterpart was his own name spelled backward. The story of Vicky and her friends may not have a happy ending, but at least it inspired the importance of true friendship.